Morning, everybody. All right, happy election day. You see, we're busy downstairs on the first floor uh, with one of the polling sites, but I just got a short list today, a few things, and yeah, go ahead. There you go. Now you get these over here. Just a few things to get started. Obviously, the tropical weather update. We have a plan in place. Unfortunately, we don't have to go back too far when we had started going down the road of a plan. So I guess we're fortunate in that sense. It's been pretty recent since we've worked together as a team, and ultimately what became a table exercise for us in September. Hopefully, it's another table exercise for us. But we're of course, city crews will be doing their job, getting out there and clean out stormwater ponds, all those same things that we went through before, and we'll engage our COOP plan, and I expect some movement on that tomorrow. So obviously, we're asking everybody, as we always do, to pay attention to warnings, what's coming out from our EOC, and we'll do our best to cascade that information. Obviously, too early to speculate where it will end up, but I want to certainly put our folks at ease that they know that we're on top of things, and that we will go through that exact same process, and we'll be as prepared as we can possibly be. Bruce Beach, just a reminder, weather permitting, obviously, given the last topic. We are planning the grand opening ceremony for Phase 2, Friday afternoon, 3 o'clock at Bruce Beach. It is ready to go. It's really just a matter of taking the fencing down. So excited to have that project fully complete, and including the parking on the west side. I get that question a lot. There will be parking spaces, as have always been designed in the project, but they just were included on the west side where Phase 2 is. So there'll be some parking there, and there'll be some additional overflow parking available across the street. Veterans Day closures, of course, next Monday, November 11th, the city administrative offices, City Hall, the community resource centers will be closed. Osceola and Roger Scott will remain open on the holiday. And for sanitation, it's the normal change when we have the holiday on Monday. Your Monday garbage, yard waste, and bulk pickup will be collected Tuesday if you're a Monday pickup, and then Tuesday, if your first day is Tuesday, will be moved to Wednesday. And you'll see no change on Thursday and Friday. CSX road closures, we did send that out yesterday. We understand there's no noticing your citizens better than a road close sign, and so we've heard from a lot of you and understand the frustration. There's work that CSX is completing on their rail. That's not a city project or even a state project. They did give us a little bit of advance notice that we had put out last week. But there's going to be a series of detours over the next couple of weeks, and I know there's and I believe they're working all over the county. I believe if I've seen correct. Obviously, we're focused on the city, but I know there's a number of rail crossings between East Gregory Street and Fairfield that affect us in the city, and it's just standard maintenance, track upkeep, some of the stuff that they have to do. There's no that we've been made aware of. Certainly not our business, the rail business, but this is supposed to be just standard maintenance, is what we've been told. And there's a map on the city's website showing where the work is affected. Strategic plan. Obviously, process has been lengthy, and excited to bring that to closure. November 12th, they'll present at Agenda Conference. Gail, the administrators of that plan, talked with more than 1,700 citizens. And what I expect to be the guiding document for this administration and for council about what the city wants. And I believe, as I say in the letter on the first page, is I think Mayor Hayward and Mayor Robinson and myself, we do the best job that we can with the information we have and the research that we do to make good decisions for the city. I think every council member that's ever been a part of the council has done that wholeheartedly. But for the first time, we can now say we've got a guiding document and a vision for the city fully authored by the folks who live here. And so hearing from 1,700 people, being very intentional about making sure that we've heard from every age, every gender, every race, that it's well represented as the diversity of our community is, and match that. So I'm excited to see the response and the feedback from the community and these really guiding principles that should help us with really every decision. And if we do this right, this should be put at the front of every one of our city departments, and we should be asking ourselves every day, what are we working on today that advances us in some way in these directions? It was never meant to be a month 1, month 2, month 3 tactical document, because things change. Tropical storms come in, COVID happens, things change that can throw off a strictly tactical plan. There are some tactics that are discussed, some general ideas, but I think what it's really setting is a vision for the city, and said, we've heard from you and this is what you've told us. So excited for that. They will present agenda conference 3:30, and of course there's a Civicon speech at Bayview Community Center where they'll do that same presentation actually right after that at 5:30 on November 12th. So you can either or you can stream. You can of course stream the agenda conference online for folks out there that can't make it. And then lastly, we've got some tree plantings. It's planting season, so some tree plantings. We got 27 going in this week with the Tree Trust Fund money that had been allocated previously, and you'll see them going in at Catalonia Square there on 12th Avenue, East Fisher Street between 10th and 11th, East Bars Street between 9th and 11th, and the northwest corner of West DeSoto and Northeast Street. And that was part of the funding approved by City Council in Phase 2 of that tree canopy revitalization project. You guys may remember several months ago, we did a kind of a cross-filtered study on where our tree canopy is, and also the areas that need the most shade, the most tree canopy. We see across the country that underserved areas, lower income areas see 10 to 15 degrees warmer temperatures on their sidewalks and on their streets because of lack of tree canopy. So all of that was studied. So any of these plantings moving forward are not just picking a corner because we're picking a corner. This has been deeply scientific in all of the data that we have, and that process will continue when we start to use the $1 million we received from the forestry grant that we had, the $1 million. The vast majority of that probably to plant about 250 trees or so over the next year and a half, and that we'll be using that same kind of guiding principle, guiding document of creating canopy for all of us here in the city. And that will also cover the cost of those 27 trees. Also includes watering and keeping them updated, keeping them growing for those first 2 years where it's really important to do so. So that is all I've got today, and happy to take any questions that you have.
Obviously, it's election day, and there are 2 city council races today. Do you have any thoughts on those races, or what are you thinking as far as the city council seating?
I haven't, seen any polling or have any thoughts on that. What I hope is that we have people in those seats, whether it's folks that remain or whether it's folks that's new, whatever happens, that care about this community the way that this current council does, and that's an agreement or a disagreement. I think any council person will tell you this isn't it's a part-time job by definition only. It's not, when you're out meeting with your constituents and having town halls and going to all of these events and all the meetings that you have. So it takes passion for this community to be successful. So, in terms of predicting, I won't be predicting any races today, but all I can ever hope for is the 7 people that I work with, care about this community, and we'll see what happens tonight.
Yeah. Going back to the strategic plan survey, I know the stations said there were 12, but have you seen the result or have an inkling of what Pensacola will see in the next 10 years?
Yeah, I've just mentioned on the radio today. I've just seen a draft as recently as yesterday, so it's this will be hot off the press for everybody on the 12th. What it will show is really looks like 8 guiding kind of principles. and some are very predictable. It'll be things like housing, and then walkability, bikeability. That I know there's a reference to that, and then there'll be ones that I wouldn't say are unpredictable, but just honestly, we learned a lot through the process of not that the priorities are surprising in what the topic is, but the severity of them being how high a priority that they are. So I'm excited to see what people say and what their thoughts are. And again, just it's nice going forward confidently that we've heard from 1,700 people who live here, more than enough of a sample size. This wasn't about doing the minimum and checking a box and having one meeting. This was about making sure that however we spend the remaining years of this administration, that we do it in a way that respects how people see this city and how they see the future of this city. So yeah, I think it'll really be fitting into kind of these 8, kind of visioning topics about where we want the city to go. And so excited to get everybody's feedback on that.
Is this a final document? Are you asking for council approval?
No, this is a final document. So on the 12th, and now council has had the ability to interact and give their thoughts through this. Again, this is a process that really started in January, February. It's been a good 6, 7, 8 months of work, and there's been community workshops, there's been public workshops, there's been kind of a community gathering of expertise within certain fields. Gail, they'll be able to talk through all of the detail, but I'm very pleased with if it's happened at this level for a strategic plan around here, I'd be shocked. I mean, in terms of the thought and intentionality that has taken place to make sure that all voices are heard, that we have expertise. I think the first meeting we met with Gail, they had read every single report that has ever been written. That's every port study, every study about anything. So before we even had the first meeting, they probably knew almost as much or more about the city than I did by the time they were done reading all that. And so, I really appreciated that, is like to know where we're going is not to leave out something where we've been. And it doesn't mean we have to drag something along from where we've been. Maybe, things change. And so I was really pleased with the way of which they researched and how intentional they were, where they may say, hey, we haven't heard enough voices in this sector or in this space, and they would, go find that. And so council's, I know, has had an opportunity. I know for sure 4 council members sat down with them, through the process, and it may have been all 7, but I know 4 of them at one point for sure had done it, and of course was offered to everybody. So this will be more of a report back to them than it is open for discussion.
Mayor, on this, is there something that's part of the plan that would make sure that this doesn't just become another plan on the shelf? Is there kind of practice you're going to implement?
Well, listen, I think I've said through this process, I think that's my job is implementation. Now, let's take a topic like housing. Obviously, mission accomplished means a lot of different things to a lot of people, right? So there may be different determinations. Some folks might want us to move faster or do this type of housing versus that. That's not going to always be unanimously agreed upon. But what is unanimously agreed upon is we need housing, and so that's why just making sure that as we take on more projects, as we apply for grants, as we look at all of these things, that it's our job to make sure that this is implemented and it doesn't collect dust on a shelf. And that's why I think not just the literal expertise of reading every document that's ever existed here that has been produced was valuable for this team, but I think in a weird kind of symbolic way, it's saying if this is really going to be the citywide strategic plan that everybody is in agreement on and gets behind, that we should be able to consolidate everything that we've ever done that may have had some legs and got something done or may not have. And so at least the thought and the spirit of every one of those still lives on through a consolidated citywide strategic plan or has expired because of it. And so I think it's kind of like we put them all into the hopper and we're now coming out and producing, one guiding document for the entire city. Doesn't mean we aren't going to do future studies about, certain aspects of the city. And as a matter of fact, we did CRA, we've done Hollis T. Williams recently. So Doesn't mean we're stopping that. It just means that the buck stops with me when it comes to implementing something that we say we're going to do. And so I'm excited for it because it gives us the confidence to move forward and not just have a hunch, not just think that it's a good idea or the council thinks it's a good idea. We've got something in front of us tangibly now that says this is what the community believes is a good idea.
Mayor, following up on Jim's question about accountability.
Mhm.
A lot of big government groups, corporations use strategic plans as a basis for employee evaluations.
Mhm.
Have you thought about that, where the goals and missions are tied to evaluations? And you're evaluated on goals and missions instead of volume of work you performed or things like that?
Yeah, so sure, and I think we even got a question early on about an internal mission and vision, and actually what my response was is I want to see what the community's mission and vision for this city is before we have one, right? I mean, that would be misguided to say here's our mission as city employees, yet we're not really sure what the people we serve think. So that will help us, but from an evaluation standpoint, that's something that we've actually overhauled already to make more unique and actually do it more often. And so we've got 2 of those a year. Now they're actually specifically there's 4 evaluation pieces that are uniform across all departments, and then there's 2 that are unique to all departments. For example, something that may be important of value in performance in the IT department may not be the same as when you're at fleet. Safety, it might be real important when you're working on a garbage truck. The same way that maybe in an office position that isn't one of the top 6 pillar, equipment, safety equipment, for example. So every department is diverse in what they see success as. So of course, I think if there was something that we glean from anything, that should always be a living thing, and we've proven that. We've actually overhauled some of our internal evaluation systems already, just based on making sure that if you're going to do the evaluation, that it fits the department and that it makes sense, that you're really judging everybody on high performer, middle performer, low performer based on the things that matter the most to those departments. But if we get an external influence or factor in that, then of course I think we should always entertain that. But I think to your question, the next step for us as a workforce at the city would be digesting what our citizens have said, and then that should be guiding us forward, right? And saying, what is now our mission? What are our values? I think it would have been short-sighted to overhaul those without having an understanding of what our citizens want.
Mayor, so on the Baptist Hospital RFQ, is there, I know you're hired people to come in and look at the buildings. Is there a written report done on the state of the buildings?
I'm not sure if there is yet. I know there will be. And that was the first thing we did. As a matter of fact, we started that process before we even got legislative approval. We were willing to take that level of risk to say, because we know, time is of the essence. So we started that before it was 100% set in stone that the $7 million was going to come from the state, because we didn't want to waste any time. And so that assessment is obviously underway, and the phase 2 environmental is underway. The survey is underway. It's kind of hard to take a donation of property when you don't know what the lines are. I don't know. I've never bought a house that didn't have a survey or a building that didn't have a survey. So those are things that can't be, nothing can take place until those happen. So, but we can follow up with you if there's been a finalized report. Obviously, they've done multiple tours of the facility itself, and there's some general indications of where things are going to go. But I'm not sure if a final document has been produced yet. I'll have to get with Erica. We can check on that. Yeah.
Mayor, you've almost finished 2 years here.
Yeah.
As the mayor, you feel like you're on track, run a little bit behind, run a little bit ahead. Speak to that assessment. Your self-scouting.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about where we're at. I think our goal was to get really intentional about things, and if you whether it's Baptist or American Magic or Hollis T. Williams or Fricker Center or just the airport terminal or Sun Trail. Lots of these big generational projects that we've got just the ball rolling on, and I'm excited to see the future of those. And I'll never stand up here and say that we've got it all figured out. I think we can always get better. We can get better. We try to get better every day internally. Try to get better every day as the 7th floor of the mayor's office, as city administrators, but our team, I know I have the utmost confidence that we're moving the ball forward. We have a more engaged workforce than we had when I started. They do an amazing job. Lots of stuff that you don't know that happens overnight at the city, that people are up and at 'em making the city go, and so I'm really proud to represent them. And I've never taken the position that I think we've got that everything's solved. Everything's always going to be a work in progress, but certainly I'm happy with where the city of Pensacola is right now. And the promise that I gave everybody is that I would give them everything I got, and that we would treat this with intentionality and be aggressive about making this the city that we know it can be. So agreement on policy, agreement on initiative or disagree is what I would say at the door. What I can promise you is you'll get everything I've got. And after 2 years, I can definitely say that I've tried to leave it all out there, and I'll continue to do it. And I'm just excited about these efforts that we have moving forward, the strategic plan we have to even be better equipped on those decisions, and all the great momentum that we have. I'm very, very excited about.
Mayor, about the Grand Hotel, is there any updates to see what the city can do with it? I know last time we asked you, we were talking with the company that owns it.
Yeah, so we have had conversations with them. Obviously, one big misperception out there is that the city has, it's ultimately private property. But our position is certainly if there's going to be investment, having convention space, having hotel space is a good thing for us. Most importantly, you have a historic train station. We certainly don't want that to fall into any kind of disrepair or anything like that. So we're certainly motivated to help any way that we can. And where we've left it is nothing specific, but just ultimately we'll meet with, if there's an investor from in town, out of town that says, hey, we want to think outside the box with the mayor about, what's something that we can do, that I've left that door open because I am motivated to get something going there. But also, I think it's important to point out, the owners of the Grand Hotel continue to condition the building. They continue, you might see it from the outside and think they're just leaving it. They aren't, and there's a significant carrying cost to do that. So certainly they want to be able to get it sold and get it in the right hands. I've probably had 4 meetings with potential buyers, and again, they've got to work out an arrangement or agreement with the buyer. I'm just a third party to that, but I'm certainly a motivated one. And I think, again, the character and history of that old train station, it makes a lot of sense for the city to be involved. If the city needs to be involved in some way to make sure that we don't lose that, or it doesn't fall into any kind of disrepair, is certainly something we're open to. What we would do, what that looks like, we just don't know, because it just depends, on lots of scenarios. Do they renovate the tower? Do they demo the tower? Do they, I just don't know. And that's going to be where the owner, the seller, and the buyer are going to have to kind of lead that, and then we're open-minded about coming in and having a conversation with them to make something happen, because the same way citizens want something there, we want something there. It's good for us, it's good for the community, it's good for the Bay Center. So we certainly want to make that happen.
Mayor, it appears that Commissioner Stephen Berry has pulled Brosnahan project off the agendas before the new commissioners have seated. And the leadership in the tourism industry appears to want this thing in the city of Pensacola, something similar. You mentioned a convention center and how important that would be. Now, realize Bay Center doesn't belong to the city, but have you talked to Chairman Bear over at the TDT or others about taking this further down the road, about what role the city could play in spending $90 million?
Yeah, actually, yes, I have. I've shared ultimately the same thing I shared with you guys, that, I think from a City of Pensacola standpoint, I represent the City of Pensacola. I think that investment in an aging building and for that activity to be happening downtown is a good thing for us, and is a better thing than what was mentioned previously. And I think we've built a pretty good track record around here of hitting the pause button and trying to maintain the things that we have. I haven't run into anybody so far 2 years as mayor. One thing that hasn't happened is someone has not said, "Man, I can't believe how nice and modern the Bay Center is." And so I think it's fair, and that's no knock on the operators. I mean, I think everybody's doing the best they can with what they have. But the reality is, it's a 40-year-old structure, and being able to invest enough dollars into maintaining something that we have that is already an asset in our downtown, I think makes a lot of sense. And whether it's around that and in addition to that, it's something that I'll support. I think I'm per that conversation, I'll be in a meeting with some of the leadership about that. And it's an interesting dynamic. Between the Grand Hotel, the Tech Park, and the Bay Center, I control none of that, and sometimes that can be a good thing, in a way. And so sometimes you can come in with a different perspective where we don't, in a way, we don't have a direct dog in the fight, other than we want downtown Pensacola and the City of Pensacola to thrive. And so whatever that combination looks like, or parking lot, or take out the I-10 wrap around, all those types of things affect us in some way, yet we don't have any direct impact on really any of those three parcels. But so I'm there to collaborate, not to be adverse or argue, but I think our voice at the city is important in what happens there, and I have voiced to Mr. Baer and everybody else kind of where I stand on that I think investing more dollars into the Bay Center, and a potential facility that really gives everybody the win that we think it can provide, and having that in the city would be certainly ideal from my perspective. Anything else? All right, guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.